Hey, Tom.
Good,
Dan,
good evening.
how are you guys?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Where were you?
I was in Louisiana.
Ah,
Fisher?
No, no, I was at a minister's conference.
Oh, okay. Well, you could
Yeah.
still go fishing at a
I
minute.
wish I was fishing for alligators probably over there.
No, I mean like going like my husband always wanted to go down to the bayou or what.
Or
there you go.
great. All right. This is the March 18th uh meeting of the BET, sort of a departmental review process. Do you have anything to say, Mr. Mayor, to start the meeting?
Thank you. I just appreciate all the hard work that the BET has done, the department heads have done. We have a situation, I've made this comment in the past. We have a situation here which is unlike any we've faced before. And I think the department heads have listened to my mandate of coming in as low as possible, somewhere between 2% and 2.5%. And it's been a struggle for them as well as us. So again, thank you to everybody.
All right. Tom or Jared, do you want to lead off?
Should we, Ed, should we do a roll call too with Irene?
Oh, yeah, I guess. Yeah. Should we do? All right. Let's do a roll call.
Mayor
Rusty, go
Rilling,
ahead.
Mayor Rilling,
Here.
Mr. Abrams, Mr. Constant, Mr. Gilleret,
Here.
Mr. Casimis,
Here.
and Miss Yang.
Here.
We have
Um,
4 in attendance. We have a quorum.
Great. Thank you.
Irene,
Yes.
Kendrick could not find the link, so I just sent it to him, so he should be joining us momentarily. I'll
Great.
let you know when I see him pop up.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay. So where do we start? We have the CFO budget. Is that where you like to start?
Yeah, but we got the finance department. Let me just put my screen up so everybody can follow along. And let me do my quick little walkthrough for the finance team just to explain the spreadsheet. But before we get started, let me know if first of all, is it clear, legible, large enough?
Yeah.
Yep. I see
Okay.
it.
So down here, 6.72 overall is the percentage increase year over year for the entirety of the finance department. And now we will go into the individual areas. And just to sort of gotta shrink it just a little bit to see what happened. Okay. I just want to point out to the finance department heads. These 3 columns are here, the last 3 years of actuals. And we took an average of that just for comparatives. The average is right here, the 3-year average. And that is compared to the request. No need to address it unless you want to, more for highlighting trends over the last few years. And if you see any significant variances that you wanted to talk about, you're welcome to. So starting off with the CFO, his overall increase is quite possibly the best one we've seen so far, down 37%. And Jared, you are welcome to take it away.
All right. Thank you, Tom, and good evening, everybody. And somebody said it just before we went live and mentioned the dream team. Was that you, Ann?
Yes, it was. You have a great team.
Yeah.
Great team, Mr. Schmidt.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. It's a great team. And they, as the mayor said, they responded so well with the directives that we gave to them, handed down to them, and so greatly appreciate their efforts. And as Tom mentioned, I'll just say just a couple of things about the overall finance division budget, the 6.72%. As we kind of put a caveat on a lot of the departments, a lot of the increase is due to salaries as a result of the salary freeze that took place, did take place this year. which will end up not being in place next year. And so without that freeze and factoring in that freeze, that our overall division budget would be almost flat. It's at about a 0.5% increase overall. So that there's a lot of the finance division was hit pretty hard with the hiring freeze, and so that 6.72% factoring in the hiring freeze is actually about 0.5%. So I want to note that, because you'll see that'll be a recurring theme throughout a few, I believe 3 or 4 of the budgets that the department heads will go through. And in addition to that, there'll be some other increases related to contracts. But other than that, it's a fairly flat budget. So I'll get right into my budget, the CFO's budget. We pointed this out before too with some of the departments. As you know, one of the provisions that we put into this budget was to do a 1% decrease in budgets overall. That's 1% of salary, and it's rolling out differently depending on the department. In our case, to start off the year as it's budgeted now, my office, the CFO's office, is absorbing all of that cut. As the year goes on and as we get closer, that'll change, and all the departments know that they're expected to find savings, primarily probably through churn and turnover of staffing, and if not there, then through other elements of their budget. But overall, it'll be a 1% reduction. So that's why if you see that, it may look a little bit funny, but that's just the way that we're budgeting the overall 1% decrease. It's all hitting my office to start with. Other than that, there's not a whole lot of difference here. We did select a new auditor, and so we've included additional funding there, an additional $20,000 for the new auditor, and so we will have that auditor for another. The contract will be for another 5 years, and that the contract will be forthcoming to the Common Council for their approval. And other than that, I don't have a lot. I did take down the training and education budget a bit, cut that from 25,000 to 10,000, reduction of 15. I will, continue to do training and education, but that was a little, especially given these times, was a little more than what I'll need. We'll see what happens again in next year's budget, but for now and for these times, it seemed prudent to reduce that line item. Does anybody have any questions for the CFO?
I've got a quick question, Jared. You may have explained this, and I may have missed it, but the salary adjustment of a cut of 135.6. What is that? What does it amount to? I mean, what is that specifically for or about?
So one of the in my intro, I did talk about it briefly. One of the mandates to all the department heads and to the chiefs was a 1% reduction in each of their budgets, and like the other budgets, it's been that 1% has been rolled out differently depending on the budget. In this case, in some cases, the 1% you'll see it hitting each department. In my case, for this division, for the finance division, it's all been rolled up into my budget, into the CFO's budget. So that's why it's such a large reduction in reality.
Why is it listed under salary? In other words, how does that what salaries are being slashed, or how is that being accomplished in the in salaries? I'm not, is everyone getting a reduction in their salary, or how do you save $135,000 in salaries?
So it could be in salaries. What we did was we went back and looked at the we were really looking for churn and turnover savings that that the departments typically experience in years past. And so you know, there were definitely some trends there, and we thought that that savings, that 1% savings, was a reasonable amount, and that each of the departments could absorb that as a way to meet the goal of the savings that we were and the limited increase that we were looking for. And so that's what we did. It just so happens that we're budgeting it to start in my department, in the CFO's office. But as the year goes on, that will get allocated to, the lapse will be allocated to each of the departments, and they're aware that that's the case, and that they've been directed to find 1% of savings. And
I see. So it's not as
if some reason, there are some departments that may have some difficulty doing it through salaries, that have tighter salary budgets, and in those cases we have extended some flexibility for them to look at other aspects of their budget, and they're aware of that.
Okay, so it's not as if you're cutting necessarily, but as people leave, you're sort of postponing rehiring and that kind of, you're sort of saving in that way. It's not that you're suffering you're suffering a reduction in manpower or people power.
Correct. Right. There's no hiring freeze. There's no reduction in pay. Nothing like that. It's straight churn and turnover. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, that answers the question. Thank you. Are there any other questions?
Yeah, Jared, this is Troy, real quick. On that the counting contract, you said it's a 5-year contract. Are there escalations in every year, or is it going to be the 110 a year for the 5 years?
There is an escalation each year. 3% is what we got to. It's going to be a 3% increase each year. It'll be pretty apparent here when you see that first year. That's a large increase. That's larger than 3%. We have been getting quite a deal over this last 5-year contract, and because so much time has gone by since then, we're having to put a little bit more into there for this first year of this new contract.
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
Any other questions? All right, thank you, Jared. Are you staying for the rest of this, or are you moving over to the Charter Revision Commission meeting?
I believe I'm gonna head over there now, and then but I may be back and forth.
All right,
so.
I'll be there within the hour or so, probably.
Okay, but I'm leaving it in the trusted hands of the department heads and the dream team, as Ann calls them. So.
All right, fair enough. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Ed, just to give you an example, our initial approach on the salary adjustment, we pushed it out to all the divisions. And for example, the police department, let's say, was $1 million. They came back to us and said, hey, we think we're going to be fully staffed all year. We're not going to have the flexibility in salary adjustments. Is it okay if we pick the line items to come up with that same $1 million? And we said yes, and they did. So that was the one area that we won't and didn't see a salary adjustment, but they still met that 1% reduction. So.
Right. Okay, I understand. That makes sense.
I think it also saves us, meaning the BET and the finance team, of cutting office supplies from $500 to $400, and that sort of a labor-intensive exercise through every line item. So
let the department heads, figure it out on their own.
Let them manage it. That's part of the intent. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Moving. Anything else? Sorry, before we move on.
That's it.
Okay.
That's it for me.
Yeah. Moving on to the tax assessor. Here's another area where we came in at 5.79% right here, year over year. I've highlighted these two cells in blue because of the QDS contract. So I think you've heard over the years, QDS is our new, well, not so new anymore, but our tax collection and tax assessment software. We originally had the annual fee for the tax assessor in the what's called the IT services account. And just today we moved that down to the IT software account to be consistent. So you'll see minus 66 is offset by the 57.5. Really the only big item other than those two offsets is in the salaries where it's 9.81%. And we have Paul Gorman on the line to take any questions.
Thanks, Tom. That was a beautiful change to the spreadsheet to have me have a 605% increase to one of my places there. That was great. As Tom outlined, very few changes that are going up. A lot of places where Jared, Tom, and myself, we spent many an hour going over trying to find every little place where I could nip and tuck the department. And I think we did a pretty good job. The only place that we had any kind of an increase was on that was outside of normal wear and tear, I guess I would say, is office supplies and materials. And it was just that we came up short last year, so we asked for a little bit more this year so that we wouldn't have to borrow from other accounts. But everything else, you could see a lot of places where we cut down on our expenses on just about all the extra stuff, subscriptions to newspapers, telephones, all that kind of stuff. We cut everything out that we could to come in as low as we possibly could. So I'll let you guys take a quick look at it and open it up for questions.
I have no questions. Anyone have any questions? All right, I think we're all set. Mr.
Okay.
Gorman, thank you.
All right,
No,
thank
he's
you.
not done. He's not done yet. He's got one
Oh,
more.
he's not
Dang
ready.
it.
He's got the tax assessment.
But this one's
read
even better.
Right, okay, go.
Go ahead, Paul. If, I think everybody knows the story here, but go ahead and add a little color to it.
Yeah, and then on the reval account, we cut everything out except for a little bit of contingency money in case something popped up that we just weren't aware of. But we had 81,000 that we had to pay off, which was the retainage fee that was paid late last fall. And then so we had 50,000 left over, and we reduced that from 50,000 to 20,000, giving back 30,000 of that money.
Great. That's great. Any questions? I think we're set on that.
Yeah. Moving on
Thank
to tax collector.
Tax collector. Thank you, Mr. Gorman.
Thank you.
And
Have a great evening.
Thank you.
You
You
as
too.
well, Paul. All right. And before I get started, I owe Lisa a humble apology. I told her I would text her when she was up in about 5 minutes, and I forgot, but I see that she's still on. Humble apologies.
It's okay, I'm
Um,
here.
I know. But she came in under 3%, 2.82 overall down here. Some ups and downs in various sections, but I will let Lisa take it away from here. That top line is the set full-time salary, so we can see all of your accounts in one shot here.
Good evening, folks. I hope you can hear me. I'm actually at our annual tax collectors conference right now, and Tom was good enough to give me printouts of everything that I could bring with me. Our assistant tax collector, Al Palumbo, is usually on this hearing with me, but he's in transit. So our budget is heavy on salary, postage and printing, and IT costs. The tax collector's office in Norwalk is staffed by 8 full-time employees. It's been the same for the entire 25 years I've been in Norwalk. Our staff has not gone up, even though the levy certainly has. But I'm glad to answer any of your questions. Our budget does fluctuate between tax sale year and non-tax sale year. So typically when we have to budget ahead of time for some tax sale expenses, the budget will be higher that year in the other professional services account 5259. But all of those expenses are recovered at the sale or prior to the sale. So when you see that number go up, please don't be alarmed, because a lot of those expenses that we incur relative to the sale, we bill into the sale and we reimburse the town. And that's in the revenue side of the budget that you're not seeing here. But we do also collect a lot of fees that you don't see here. We collect motor vehicle fees, we collect lien fees, we collect tax sale fees. So in addition to, of course, the 86 to 88% of the budget that comes from property taxes. So I always try to remind everybody, that's why we do the enforcement that we do, to allow the Board of Estimate to set mill rates that are lower, because our collection rate is higher, our current collection rate is higher. And we've been very fortunate over the years to have the support of the policymakers on the council, who get calls from their constituents about some of the enforcement activities that we do. We did the sale in September. We had a tax sale that we started working on the prior November, and we collected close to $7 million on that tax sale. So our next one will probably be in 2026, unless we do a mini sale in the meantime for zoning fees, because we are now charged with also assisting them. And we said we would take it on, just as we do for blight fees. We've collected hundreds of thousands of dollars in blight fees on behalf of the Blight Enforcement Office through tax sale. And we now have the authority under state law, thanks to Senator Duff, to be able to do it for zoning fees as well. So that's coming in fiscal year end 26, probably.
Thank you, Lisa. Are there any questions?
Yeah, I don't know if this is the right time to talk about, so I'm looking in the budget book, Mr. Ellis, under non-tax revenue. And this interest and penalties of $1.6 million, is that from your office, Lisa, or is that something that's different?
That's us.
Okay.
Right, Tom? That's back tax.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And when I look at 25 over 26 or 25 approved, it's down by close to $4.5 million. Is that related to the tax sale, or how does that?
Yes.
Okay, so the 6.1 million of interest and penalties is because these came in because of the tax sale.
That's correct. The revenues fluctuate and the expenses fluctuate, but when we are having a tax sale year, we do collect more, and everything goes up that year. Our number of transactions goes up, the dollars coming in comes up, and the interest and penalties comes up. We don't do them every year because it's a monumental amount of work. We do them in-house. Because some people might ask, why don't you do one every year? It's all consuming for part of the staff for a while, and we're trying to do our other work as well. So the 2-year cycle seems to work pretty well.
And so it looks as if the steady state interest and penalties looks like it's over 2 million. So in 22-23, it was 2.2 million, then 2.7, then 6.1, which was the tax sale. And now you're projecting 1.6. Is it possible it could be higher, or are there any structural differences, or is it because kind of coming off of the tax sale that it's all gotten cleaned up?
I think that it's because we weren't intending to do a 225 property tax sale in this fiscal year end. We'll be doing it in July of 26, which is fiscal year end 27. So you'll see some of the revenue coming in 26, but most of it will come in the next year.
Okay. Thank you. The amount of work that you do is so important in terms of being the outward facing group, because you will take in all of the complaints. And so kudos to your group for handling it well, because I haven't seen much complaints or press about how difficult the tax collector's office is. So you take on a lot, and so you show the city of Norwalk in good light. So thank you.
I appreciate that. Thank you. They're a good group. I will convey the message to them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Yang and Lisa. Are there any other questions?
Yeah, I've got one question and one comment. Lisa, refresh my memory, and I think I know it's tax sale related, but 5259 professional services was 75 grand last year and going down 20 grand to 55 this year. Tax
Yeah,
sale also?
that's tax sale. Yeah.
Okay. All right. And then the last thing, Lisa is far too humble to remind everybody of this, so I will. The vast majority of the municipalities in the state contract out the tax sales. Lisa and Norwalk are one of the few that do it themselves. And that saves us a very significant amount of money, not having to hire outside consultants who do not bill cheaply. So I will throw that thanks in again.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you, folks. Thank you for your support.
And sorry again for blowing off the text message.
That's quite all right. I was ready. I will throw in just one caveat too with we have some relatively newcomers on our staff, and we're trying to instill in them some of the work that we have done, the seasoned people in our office. So we do try to send them for educational training and things like that, because our 3 senior people in the office are either at or very soon will be at retirement age. And we're hoping that the city will be able to continue what we've started here since 2003, doing our own sales and really ramping up our enforcement. So I appreciate the fact that you do allow us to spend some money on their education and their training because it's very, very important to me. So I appreciate that.
Great. Thank you once again, Lisa. Accounting and treasury? Or
Yes, moving
accounting?
on, we have Chitsmay here. Let's go down and look at her total. Let's see, we are at 9.05. Jared referenced the hiring freeze, and this is one of the areas that was impacted by that. So where do I see Chitsmay? I saw her name. There she is. So you're welcome to take it away, Chitsmay, and talk to any significant variances, which there aren't too many.
Right. Well, hello, everybody. In the comptroller's department, we manage various function, accounting, payroll, accounts payable, and treasury. So a lot of the budget really is in wages and salary, as you could see. And as our CFO had mentioned, that was due to the freeze last year. That actually gave us an opportunity to analyze and assess our different areas that what we need. And so this year we would like to reinstate that additional position budget that we need for the upcoming fiscal year. 10% of our budget is for our time and attendance software and application. So that really helps supports the various departments, including the Board of Ed also. We use the same time and attendance program for both. And 5% is for our education and office supplies. So if anybody has any questions, I'm more than happy to try to answer them.
I have no questions. Any questions?
No, I'm just confirming that the bulk of the increase is because of the change in accountants of the 86,000.
Yeah, the bulk of the increase is actually the salary in our budget.
With the one additional person.
Correct.
Plus the impact of those half year freezes. And I think did you have two in your area, Chitsmay, or just one?
It's actually 1.5 because the other one was the timing.
Okay.
Anything else? All right, we're all set.
All
Thank
right.
you, Chitsame.
Oh, I would actually like to say thank you, Chitsame, for, I think year over year, we're always awarded for completeness and the continuity of our audit reports. So I think you showed us in good light to our investors.
Thank you.
Thanks again. Management and budgets.
That's me.
Okay,
And yeah, coming in at 10.15%. So go ahead, let me have it. But I have
absolutely
a-
not.
I have a good explanation. So very reasonable on the salaries, $13,000 there, 4%. Just the step increases. Again, we haven't finalized the contract. So, but other than that, wages and salary part-time, that's Lola's salary. So came up a little short last year in that area. So just want to make sure we recovered there. A few reductions. Seminar and conference fees, we came down. We do one big conference a year for the GFOA, Government Finance Officers Association. And last year it was in Orlando. This June it is in Washington, D.C. So that should be cheaper to get to and attend. Flat everywhere else. And then the big line item is in IT software. You recall that we got approval on the capital side for the digital budget book last year. So just to remind everybody, with software purchases, the first year is capitalized. Ongoing years of annual fees or administrative charges are in the operating budget. So this will be year one of the digital budget book. That 26,000 covers both the operating budget and the capital budget. And then the Board of Education has their own bill of about 15,000 on their operating budget. So.
And is that expected to be 28.5 every year for the next?
Yeah, similar. It's going to be going up 3% or a 3-year contract. So.
Okay.
Any questions?
Any questions? Okay,
All right.
moving right along.
Purchasing. Another under 3%, 2.84, one line item change. And we have Sharon on the line to give a quick overview and answer any questions. Go ahead, Sharon.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. I believe most of our change year over year is basically wages and salary. We are fully staffed, thank gosh. We try to control or best estimate on our costs. The postage, obviously, it is what it is with how much our post office box cost, and we do have significantly reduced our mailings of purchase orders. So we just basically mail out the ones that we're contracted for. Our subscription tax area, actually, Tom, we'll probably have to have a sideline conversation on this one. Our bonfire system's actually captured in there. I don't know if you want to budget to a different line item, but most of these expenses in that area is our bonfire portal, the newspaper, because we have to have documented proof that we did our advertising. And we also have a subscription with Periscope Holdings, which is our commodity codes. Unfortunately, these do increase year over year, but I figured that the best recommended choice was accepting what we took the recommended budget subscription. And then we pretty much kept everything else flat on that. So should we move down to central services, Tom?
Sure. This should be a pretty quick one.
Yeah.
$0 over last year. Go ahead.
Sorry.
Not much to say.
Not
When
much
you're
to
ahead-
say.
When you're
other
ahead,
than-
there's not much to say, right?
Yeah. I do have to bring in light or attention. Hopefully we can have a good negotiation on this one. We split our costs with the mailroom services with the city school side, And that will be issued to RFP in September of this year. So I do expect some change, but hopefully not a significant change on the next contract. So we do outsource our mailroom. They handle the picking up the mail, delivering the mail, and all items related to that, and everything else I kept flat.
You outsource it along with the Board of Ed?
Yep, we actually issue a joint RFP.
Oh, okay, interesting.
Yeah. We actually have one office space upstairs in the BOE side, and it makes sense to issue one RFP. Obviously, their delivery service is a little bit more because they're delivering to all the schools. So we actually have a separate response form for their cost, but we figured leverage, both parties as one, selecting one vendor would have a more favorable outcome.
So is this number reflects the city side of the expense, not the entire expense?
That is correct. It's just city side expense.
And Sharon, what is the entire expense and who is the contractor?
I'm sorry, you broke up.
I'm sorry, what is the total expense and who is the contractor?
Currently now the vendor is Canon. And let me see. Let me just find my notes on that. Currently now, the base contract is almost 86K. And then we might have a little bit of room for overtime in case there is overtime. Depending on, in this past year, there could have been overtime because the election season, they assist on mailing out the absentee ballots if there's a big volume. So there could be overtime in that area, but not much because we reduced that a lot.
But if this is city and BOE, would the contract be higher, isn't it?
No, what you see in the budget line item is the city portion only.
Right, so what is the total?
Oh, total of it? Sorry, I don't have that in front of me.
Okay. Telephone?
We pay the telephone bills for the city.
And these are mobile phones or the central services? Or
It is regular
into-
desk phone.
And is that AT&T or can we do some kind of internet phone?
It is. It goes through a centralized trunk and then it disperses throughout all the departments. So it's not like the old POTS, copper
Right.
wire.
But my recollection is I think we pay the service. It's like by telephone, is that correct? So if we're in this day and age where everybody's using their mobile phones, if you have less landlines, then you would have less use. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, you're still breaking up.
I apologize. I'm IT services here. It's the question is, given the internet and people using mobile phones, was the price on telephones is on a per handset basis. And so I don't know if you're able to reduce, and I know that where I work, they pretty much got rid of, regular telephones, and are using a lot of voice over IP and using people's own mobile phones.
Mm-hmm.
Part of that.
Right. Well, there are departments that have cell phones. It could be an opportunity to look at and work with IT to see the capabilities in that area. Myself, I don't have a cell phone. I use the desk phone. And I believe, and Joyce could chime in at some point, on the technical aspects of how the phone system works. but,
And it looked through the efficiency study, one of the areas that they described is perhaps maybe there's just one purchasing office for the BOE and the city. If you were to put the two together, would there be savings?
I don't know, because on the BOE side, there is my counterpart up in that office, and he has staff that help him with his purchasing and solicitations. So, and obviously they're supporting all the school systems, so I don't know what the potential gain of merging the two offices would be. You would still need to have support for the BOE side of the house.
Right. But maybe instead of 4 plus 4 could be, instead of 8, it could be 6, because there's probably some economies of scale of combining the two departments.
I don't know. I guess at some point we could probably look at that with our CFOs.
Right, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you. IT services?
Yeah, let me just scroll down to the bottom here and look at what our total is. It's 11%. There are a handful of items that are up 5-ish to 30-ish. Largest increase, as with most other areas, is in the salary line item at 22%. And Joyce is on. You're welcome to take it away.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. So on the salary percent, we have a 22% increase. Is due to the 2 of the position was freeze last year. And thank Tom and Mayor and CFO that they freeze this to account for us. The one of account is a junior programmer, another one is a system manager. So adding this together, and the rest of it is just a 3% staff and salary increase, which is contractual.
Miss Lou, I'm sorry, I'm having a difficult time hearing you. It may just be me, but you may not be as close to the microphone as at least my poor hearing.
I can't hear her either, Ed.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, that's better.
A little better.
Oh, okay, thank you. I'm so sorry. So yeah, for the 22% of the salary increase is for the 2 freeze account that we have from last year. One is a junior programmer, another one is a system manager, and then the rest of the increase will be the step and salary increase, which is a less than 3%. So that is the biggest increase that we have on the IT services. The rest of it, we are trying to reduce to, try our best to combine and reduce into, so you can see lots of those are, give and take. And another one is on the telephone side. So just circling back to Anya's question. So there is a total of 1,400 voice over IP Cisco phone that city and Board of Education have. So we basically about 50-50. They have around 700, we have around 700. So it's a joint, we joined to have a quote, because the combining together, we got more buying power. So it's Cisco is changing the license agreement. So right now we are supposed to be subscribed annually with a Cisco phone. The phone itself is really not costing much. It's basically the license that's what we have. So so going forward annually, we are going to have a little bit increase on the telephone side. Yeah, so that's yeah, that's on the IT service side. I'm here to answer any question you might have.
Thank you, Ms. Lou. Any questions?
Yes, Joyce, every year we talk about the cybersecurity aspect and really trying to hire someone from the security standpoint so that we don't end up of what's happened to some of the other towns and boards of that. Where are we in actually doing that, getting that funded, thinking about that?
Right. I wish Gerald was here to answering that. That is going back to the CISO. If you scroll down, that's where the CISO position, is. So, Gerald putting in $85,000. I think it's the idea is, we are going to hire a part-time, well, a CISO like share with other town, our city, surrounding town, our city. And that will be, take advantage of, have a CISO, but belong to us, but not like, but we also can be shared with the service and the salt and, all the policies that together. So that's the thought behind that. So I know Jared is our CFO is working on that. I just do not know what is the progress on that yet.
That actually makes a lot of sense to have someone great and share it with other towns.
Right. We're thinking about outsourcing that for another company, but then we are just one of a client. We are one of the, the headcount. So, the idea of having share, we always know who are we dealing with. They always know what's our condition, and we always be able to say, have a direct communication with them, asking for, policy, or, then we can like bouncing through what currently we have, and we have a device, like a on-site advisor, but we know who are we working with instead of working with a consulting firm. They randomly, assign somebody, then, come and goes. Right. So I find that is very important to have somebody, we will be able to rely on. But a full-time CISO is really, really expensive, and on the market it's just it's very. I just don't know with the salary we're providing, we're going to get a decent CISO.
I think the last time we looked at that a couple of years ago, it was 300 plus in the private sector. Is if you're good at that, you can name your price nowadays.
Right.
And then the rotation rate is really high. It's like about 1 year or 13 months, right? Yeah. So once they get familiar with you, then they rotate,
Right.
to another better, higher paid job. Yeah. Mhm.
Any other questions?
No, I just thank Joyce for all that she does for actually a large budget. Because handling IT for such a large organization is a big job. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne.
Thank you, Ms. Lou. GIS, would that also be you, Ms. Lou?
Yes, that's
Yes.
under IT. So GIS, the increase is we cut off. We used to have a travel and training educational budget and business expense. We cut it off that. We used to send our GIS analyst to San Diego for the a big webinar, and to get some information. But right now we feel like there's many information that we could acquire free online. So we be able to not traveling but join webinar, and from our PC or from home, or or locally we can travel to close to Connecticut. So those are the expense we cut it down. And anything else, then yeah, so so that's about the biggest change about in the GIS side. I'm here to answer any questions.
Joyce, isn't GIS a shared service and expense with other towns, the other members of the club?
Actually, for the GIS, right, we maintain our own infrastructure layer. So lots of time we have our own map, we have our own layer. Yes, sometimes the like a state, they have the aerial flyover at 2013, and they are going to fly again in 2016, and that is a FOIA request that we can asking because they fly the whole state, then we can contact state and get a copy of the NORC. So we cut off that cost. So we don't, we rely on state to do a full state flyover, then we can take advantage of that, paying nothing, to get acquire of those information. But anything like our own infrastructure, DPW map, sewer information, all those like GIS layer is really geared toward to NORC, not be shareable with other town or city.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? CISO.
CISO, yeah, I think we touched on that, right, Joyce?
Yes. So when
That's zero.
Ryan asking
Yeah.
about the cybersecurity,
I
this
got it.
is, yeah. Mhm.
Okay. All right. So I think we've gone through what we need to get through.
We have. I will remind everybody that tomorrow night is the last one before we get to the open items on Thursday. And tomorrow night is the grant recipients. So your Harbor Commission, Probate Court, Parking Authority. It's Transit District, not Parking Authority, etc. So 5 of them to go through tomorrow night.
If I could just ask Tom, this I booked the non-tax revenue, which is showing down $10 million year over year, and what is going on there? Is it just
yeah, those are some one-time revenue items that we booked for this year that we're not anticipating next year. For example, there's a Spinnaker settlement, one of the developers, and then the Housing Authority. The city had been working with the Housing Authority for the last several years to come up with a plan to get them up to speed in terms of their payments and arrears. And that finally came to fruition and we made an agreement, but those are both one-time items. We're not expecting those next year.
So what were the amounts?
I think Housing Authority was about 3.5 and Spinnaker was about 2. And probably a handful of other, smaller items.
And the 3.5, what are those cases? And what was it that happened that they owed the city $2 million and $10 million?
I don't know all the background on it. I know the Housing Authority one was going on for quite some time. Mayor, do you have anything to share on the history of that and how we came to an agreement?
Yes, that was basically a pilot payment in lieu of taxes, and we had some discussions relative to shelter money and so forth. We finally came to an agreement as to what the fair payment would be for the Housing Authority.
I won't ask. I'll ask a little bit more about that later because I don't completely understand that, but thank you.
Great.
Welcome.
I've got to jump off to join the Charter Revision Commission, unless there are any other questions, or maybe you guys want to keep talking while I'm in my absence. That's fine, but or is there a motion to adjourn? One of the three.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
All right, and Kendrick does too, as well as Troy. So we stand adjourned until tomorrow, I guess.
Great.
You're filling the role of Lisa, Ed, with a cat in the foreground.
Oh, is that right? Yeah.
Yeah, I see the tail. I saw the tail.
Yeah. She's a lap cat.
Okay.
There she is. Here she is.
Oh, she's
Hello, everyone. Okay, there you go.
Good night.
All right. Good night, everyone.
All right, guys.
Good
All
night.
right.
Bye.
Good night.